All right, a very good evening and welcome back to this workshop. In the section on pedagogy, we have two aspects that are to be discussed in fair depth. One is essentially P2 in your, I think all of you have received a kind of syllabus that you are going to be discussing. And P2 relates to what is called equity or matching the learner's pace. And P4 relates to overall development, that is, you could call it the aspect of ethics, morals, overall career growth, and also, extracurricular activities and so on. And with that, of course, comes the issues of leadership, the issues of taking responsibility in a student community and so on. These qualities of leadership, of being able to share responsibility, of being able to conduct extracurricular activities, of being able to balance extracurricular with the academic responsibilities and duties, is something that students, particularly at the undergraduate level, face even in a place like IIT Bombay. So, it is not surprising that this issue has been taken up as a point of discussion, and faculty need to be closely involved and they need to be concerned about how the student develops overall, but must also ensure that there is no compromise of academic quality in the process of bringing in extracurricular activities, in the process of taking responsibilities. At the same time, it has been noted by a lot of faculty, even amongst our colleagues here, that a little bit of extracurricular participation, extra academic participation actually helps the growth of a student. If it is done in an orchestrated way, if it is done in a way that benefits both the student and the system. But today we are going to address two aspects of these two parts, P2 and P4. One is, we are going to begin with this aspect of extracurricular or the leadership aspects of a student's growth. And in fact, in all the sessions that I am going to conduct, in most of the sessions that I am going to conduct, and my colleague Professor Prabhu, Nityanand Prabhu, we are going to involve students heavily, because in the two things that we talked about in P2 and P4, in P2 when we try to match the learner's pace and when we need to have a system of assistance for maybe weaker students, or when there are, as in one of the points that has been mentioned, there is also, how do you handle failures with a student and so on, repeat and assistance, peer assistance and all that. In all these things, the broader issue is the need for faculty-student collaboration in being able to achieve institutional objectives. So, today we will begin with Prachi Shah, who is one of the, so we have some very responsible and very dynamic students at all levels, at the undergraduate, at the master's and at the PhD levels. I am going to introduce all of them to you. They are all going to be a part of this session, and Prachi is first going to talk about student responsibilities and extracurricular activities. She is going to tell you the way things happen here. So, now I have, I am going to introduce them in order. In fact, let me ask them to introduce themselves, that is better. Anyway, I will just quickly introduce themselves, and you could say a few words about yourself too. So, now I have Prachi Shah, I am going from immediately next to me to the farthest. So, I have Prachi Shah here, who is now, we have a student mentor program, a fairly well established student mentor program at IIT Bombay, and Prachi Shah happens to be one of what are called the cabinet members, is that right? So, there is a small group of senior students who looks after the student mentor program at the highest level, just next to the coordinators, and Prachi happens to be one of the cabinet members, that is called the cabinet. Then I have Bidyut Datta, who is a master student, and I have Shiva Subramaniam, and then I have Neena. The three of them are the coordinators of what is called the Institute Student Companion Program, which corresponds to the mentor program at the master's level. And then I have Abhishek Mishra and Yashasvi, both of whom are PhD students, and they look after the the kind of peer program which has been established for the PhD students. So, in fact, they will talk about their program after this session. Is that right? Now I will hand over to each of you. You could just introduce yourself very briefly and we will proceed.
Hi, I'm Prachi Shah. I'm a fifth year mechanical engineering student. And throughout my stay in IIT Bombay, I've been largely involved in sports. I've been playing table tennis, and I've been playing table tennis competitively as well, representing IIT Bombay in a lot of concerning the topic here. In addition to studies, I've been playing table tennis competitively, representing IIT Bombay in a lot of tournaments. And I've also been the table tennis secretary, meaning that I coordinate all the, like in my third year, I coordinated all the activities related to table tennis. And since the last 2 years, I've been the mentor and now the cabinet member in the student mentorship program.
So good afternoon everyone. My name is Bidyut Datta. I am the overall coordinator of the Student Institute Student Companion Program, as sir has already introduced. So I am a MTech student in the Department of Metallurgical Engineering and Material Science here at IIT Bombay. And I, along with Shiva and Nina, we coordinate the entire mentorship program for the master student. And it typically involves solving the academic and non-academic aspects of all the problems which the master students face here at IIT Bombay.
Good evening, everyone. Myself and Siva Subramanian. I am also one of the overall coordinator for Institute Student Companion Program. Basically, our job is to give mentorship allotment for the freshers. So, apart from this, academically also, we are also having some project work. Second year, majorly we have to focus on project work. This is the extra work apart from our academic thing we are focusing on.
I am Nina Picardo, and I'm also one of the overall coordinators of the Student Companion Program for postgraduates. And I'm a second year MSc student from the Earth Sciences Department. And this program was, as a freshie, I felt like this program helped me a lot when I was transitioning into postgraduate studies here. And that's what motivated me to want to be part of this program. And I think it's extremely beneficial for fresher students as they don't have guidance when they just enter this institute.
Hello everyone, I'm Abhishek Mishra. I'm one of the coordinators of Institute Research Scholar Companion Program, which is dedicated to PhD student, and we'll discuss the job of IRCP in details from 5:30 onwards. So I'm in mechanical engineering department, and ideally, being a PhD student, I should devote my time in studies, but rather than studies, in addition to studies, I also play sports like badminton, volleyball, and I'm into dramatics also.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tejasvi, and I'm the other overall coordinator of the Research Scholars Mentorship or Companion Program, which we'll tell you in detail in the next 1 hour maybe. And I'm a third year PhD student in Chemical Engineering Department.
Okay, so we're going to start by showing you what are the activities that happen here, and then we'll go on to explaining why are they important and how have they helped us in particular. For undergraduate students, when they come to IIT in the first year, they have to compulsorily devote 3 hours in one of these: NSO, NCO, NSS, NCC. NSO is basically sports, NCO is culturals, SS is social services, and CC is cadet corps. So every week they have to compulsorily devote 3 hours here, where they are trained and they're taught and they're encouraged to follow this throughout the next 4 years of their life here. And this is also a graded sort of thing. They get a pass or a no pass grade here. So it is ensured that people take these activities seriously. And apart from this, we take part in tournaments. There is this inter-IIT tournament which happens where all of the IITs come and compete. But we also, since the last few years, we've also started taking part in other tournaments. Then there are inter-hostel and inter-department competitions as well. In inter-hostel, it's mostly it's both UGs and PGs. We come together and we represent our hostels as a team, whereas inter-department is mostly for PG students.
So for PGs, we have a tournament called the PGGC, in which all the departments play amongst themselves. So this is unique to the PGs, because in PGs what tends to happen is that PGs have 2 years to spend in IIT, the master student I'm talking about. So the degree of intermingling among the different students is a bit less. So to promote that particular cross-departmental networking between students, so the Institute Sports Council has come up with the concept of PGGC, where the different departments play amongst themselves. So this is a thing which is unique to the PGs, and the UGs don't have this.
And there are also training camps organized throughout the year. So if people don't know anything to begin with, because a lot of children don't get opportunities when they're kids, but they really want to pursue either a sport or something. So there are training camps throughout the year which help people start off with a new sport from the very scratch. So this is about sports. Similarly, in culturals, there are inter-hostel and inter-department competitions. And there are performances which are showcased every year in every genre, whether it be acting, singing, dancing. So there are these annual shows which happen where the performances are showcased. Freshies are, so usually the freshers which come, they're not really involved with the other students. So there are separate events for freshers which are usually clubbed under the heading of Freshiza, where the freshers are basically involved more into the cultural activities, and interaction between freshers and senior students is very much promoted here through the medium of art. And again, there are inter-IT tournaments as well as other competitions in which students take part in.
PGs have a separate thing called PG Cult, wherein only the PGs are allowed to participate. So this is a platform given to the PG students to separately showcase their skill to the rest of the institute. And even for, I would add on to this that even for sports, there is a tournament called PG Sports, wherein the PGs get separate representations to play in tournaments where only the PGs play. So this is done because what happens is that many of the PGs come from institutions which are less privileged and where the facilities are not developed enough. So they don't have the kind of infrastructure and facilities which the IITs have. So initially for the first year, what the PGs do is that they involve in different sports and try to equip themselves with the different infrastructural facilities which IITB offers. And then the PG Sports offers them a platform to showcase their skills so that they can also be a part of the inter-IIT team which IIT sends to compete with the different IITs in the country. Yeah, this is how it works for the PGs.
There are a lot of technical activities also which people pursue just for the fun of it, and it just because they enjoy it, as some people would enjoy sports or arts. So there are events specific to freshers to help them, like before coming here, not a lot of them, especially not a lot of UGs, have been exposed to technical activities. So there are a few activities designed specifically for freshmen to sort of give them an introductory to the other activities. So there are competitions like Accelerate, in which they make a bot, and a sort of just a very simple bot which just travels according to the instructions given, or an RC play competition. Then we have these teams. AUV is basically an autonomous underwater vehicle. There's a racing car, a team devoted to building a racing car. There's a team devoted to building this robot which is going to be a Mars rover. And Cedrica is an electric car, which again another team is making here. And there is a Tinkerer lab which is established. It is mostly funded by alumni. Sir, correct me if I'm wrong. Tinkerer's lab is funded by alumni, right? It has been established. So we have a lot of alumni contributing as well. So it is mostly funded by that.
Most of the bodies previously they had representations mostly from UGs, but with time what the IITs have done is that the different councils, they have the technical council specifically, they nowadays try to include more and more PGs into the teams which they are having, because the PGs generally tend to have knowledge about a specific field, in-depth knowledge about a particular field, which the UGs generally lack. They have a broader spectrum of knowledge, but PGs generally, the master students specifically, they tend to have knowledge focused on a particular field. So generally the technical council for each of the clubs which they are having, like there is a biotech society, then different clubs are there. So each of the clubs now tend to have some PG members who have specialization in a particular domain. So what I would add on to this is that, yeah, so PG students here at IITB, the masters as well as the PhDs, so they are given TA duties, teaching assistantship duties, And so what happens is that each and every professor here at IITB, they are in charge of particular labs. So each and every professor generally will have a lab under him. So the students, the masters as well as the PhD students, they are given the lab responsibilities that they have to handle everything related to that lab. They are even given the permission to, the key permission to that particular lab and the access to that particular lab, so that everything related to that particular lab is handled by the PG students mostly. And even the labs for the BTech and the master students, they are handled mostly by the senior PG students. So this is how, yeah. So this is how the PG students are made more and more responsible, so that whenever later on if they want to pursue some academic career, so they are well trained before that to handle responsibilities of the students whom they are going to teach.
This is a very important component, and I think you should pay careful attention to this component. You see, slowly in your respective institutions, you will also have graduate students. I mean, in fact, the plan is that you people will probably soon set up a master's program. Maybe in some institutions you already have a master's program, and of course a PhD program will probably, it will take some time, but at least a master's program. Now, some of these master students may also be supported by GATE, by the GATE fellowship, I mean, which the MHRD gives. Maybe a smaller number, but still. I think some might be supported by the TechQuip support, isn't it? Now, it's very important for you to conceive, and I'm going to ask you when we give you time to plan your own breakaway sessions, I'm going to ask you how you are going to carry away some of these things into your institution, particularly where you make use of the responsible master students and perhaps also some of the well-chosen undergraduate students to help you man your facilities. Because one thing I noticed, I mean, I'll share with you, when I went for what is called performance audit, see in TechQuip 2, towards the end of TechQuip 2, there was a process called performance audit which was carried out. Performance audit means, I mean, the final performance audit. So there, some of us went to different TechQuip 2 institutions and we made an audit of the whole TechQuip program as it was executed in that institution. And one of the things that we noticed was that there were a lot of purchases, there were facilities developed, but the complaint always was that, we don't have enough manpower to run this or to make it available, or there's not a culture here of allowing people to use the laboratory freely after office hours and so on, which is very essential in an academic institution. So how do we build this? Now it can't be done simply based on faculty. However, large the faculty strength might be. You see, it's impossible to actually make the best use of all the facilities that have been created. Even now in TechQuip 3, you people will be involved in setting up facilities in your institution, in promoting them, in building up laboratories. Now, how do you run these laboratories? Taking the help of responsible students is something that we should discuss in depth. So when Bidyut talked about this lab responsibilities aspect, I thought I should emphasize it's something very important that you need to carry with you, and we are going to discuss this. So please think about it, when we come to your part of breakaway.
So the teaching assistantship program which is there at IITB, there the master students are given responsibilities of correcting the answer scripts of the students and even evaluating them based on lab performances. So this is what we are going to have a separate session based on this in the upcoming days. Yeah.
So we talked about a lot of activities which go on, but who are the people who organize these activities? So these are all of the positions of responsibility. These are independent. Every bullet point here is an independent body which consists of a number of students making all the activities happen in their genre. And usually all of these have a 3-tier structure. There's always a professor who overlooks everything, and so faculty involvement is also very, very important. I'll talk about that later, but so I'll talk about the structure of the bodies. It's usually a 3-tier structure. The body, whether it be either of these councils or even the independent bodies which organize the fest, there's always one overall coordinator, and he or she has their council. The council consists of institute secretaries and nominees. Institute secretaries look after independent departments. For example, in sports, an institute secretary would be there for every sport who looks after all of the activities pertaining to that particular sport. Whereas, let's say in culturals, there would be one person responsible for every genre of the cultural activities. And then there are conveners who are usually second-year students who help in the everyday organizational activities which come into. So conveners are usually second-year students. This level is usually the third-year students, and the general secretary is usually the fourth-year student. Like, I'll talk about my experience here. When I was in my second year, I was the table tennis convener, and because I was really interested and I learned a lot throughout that process, I decided that there is still room for improvement. I still need to learn a lot more about leadership and organizational responsibilities, and that is why I decided to become the institute table tennis secretary. And that has really helped me. And after that, I became the mentor. So even in the mentorship programs, we have mentorship programs for UGs, masters and PhD. We have 3 separate mentorship programs because the requirement of every degree is different, and the problems that people face is also very different. So even in mentorship programs, there are overall coordinators. There is a cabinet which helps the overall coordinators conduct their activities, and then there are the mentors who are allotted to all of the students. But there'll be another module on mentorship where all of this will be covered in more detail. And after that, so after being a table tennis secretary, I decided to become a mentor, and I'm now a cabinet member. So if I look back at my journey, when I started off as a first year, I would not even be able to imagine that, in my 5th year, I'll be standing in front of 40 faculties and giving them this presentation. But it's mostly because of these responsibilities that I've held, which has helped me develop that confidence and that personality that I'm able to stand here before you today.
So the different councils which you are seeing, the sports council, cultural council and the technical council, so all of these councils have a PG nominee. So the sports council has a PG sports nominee, then the PG cultural nominee and the PG technical nominee. So these nominees, what they do is that they are heads of the different PG representatives from all the departments. So each of the department has a PG sports secretary, then PG cultural secretary and PG technical secretary. So this PG nominees are the heads of all these PG nominees from the different departments, and what they do is that they try to focus on the problems which are there in the different departments, and conduct different departmental level activities, and even conduct the PG level competitions which are held at the institute level. And for this academic thing, there is a general secretary called the General Secretary of Academic Affairs for PG, which purely focuses on the academic needs of the PG students. And focusing on the mentorship thing. So mentorship program works at 3 levels. So for UGs, we have the student mentorship program. For the masters, we have the institute student companion program. And for the PhD students, we have the institute research scholars companion program. So I'll talk about the institute student companion program. How does it work and what are the different positions of responsibilities which are there for the master students. So the companion program works like this. We have 3 overall coordinators which look after the entire program, and under them we have departmental coordinators at each and every department. So these departmental coordinators have student companions under them. So the student companions are the ones who directly mentor the students. So each of the student companion will have around 6 to 7 students under his mentorship, known as the mentees. So they will directly address any academic or non-academic needs which the students might be having, and they will report directly to the departmental coordinator. And the departmental coordinator will in turn report any departmental activity or departmental reports to the overall coordinators. And the work done by the Institute Student Companion program involves organizing the orientation program for the fresher students, the PG students, and then conducting different workshops at the institute level for the PG students. So conducting the orientation is an important part of the mentorship process, because that is where the students get the chance to interact with their mentors directly. That is the first time they come in contact with their mentors. And so what we do is that we will help the students with all activities, right from registration to getting acclimatized to the IITB way of life. Everything is taken care of by their mentors, and throughout the year we also have a system of keeping a track whether the mentors are in touch with their mentees and they are addressing their issues properly.
So here I'd like to add, and you must take note of the fact that there is a lot of peer assistance process even at the master's level. See, because even for a master student to be able to make the best of his or her stay here, it is important to take advantage of the experience of the people who have gone through the program or are going through the program at the senior level. So this kind of a system always complements faculty efforts. And what I found in many of the TechWhip institutions that I visited, even for performance audit, I found that this was not being done adequately. That means you have faculty. You cannot expect that faculty can reach out to every student all the time. It's impossible. At the same time, it's possible to reach out to most students most of the times if you multiply faculty efforts with student participation. So how do you do this is something that we should be discussing. Okay, so you must also reflect and tell us how you're going to incorporate. I mean, you may call it something different, or but I mean, you must take the spirit of what is being presented to you, and you will be telling us in your breakaway sessions how you're going to carry away some of these things into your institution.
So, good evening everyone. So my friends here, they discussed that what all the extra PG bodies, the PG and UG bodies are available. Actually, these things are not at all related to academics. These are entirely related to the extra responsibility they are taking. So why apart from the academics people are doing this? There is a misconception that if you are getting a POR, you will be landed in a good place. For placement, people will prefer, but that is not exactly true. Maybe in non-core jobs, through this responsibility, the soft skill we are developing, that will be useful in the placement process. Just because you are having some responsibility, you will not be landed a placement. But in placements for core job, because they will generally focus on technical parts, so these soft skills may not be helpful. But in non-core jobs, these soft skills will be developed through these responsibilities will be very helpful. So first I would like to highlight on the fact of the role model. Generally, the people who are taking these responsibilities, they are in the overall coordinator position or company coordinator position. For example, people are taking this post not because of without their interest, no one is taking. Because now I am an overall coordinator for mentorship program, so I am interested in mentorship, and the advantages which I got through this mentorship program motivated me to take this post. People who are interested in sports, for example, she went through the sports responsibility. So I would like to share my story. Why I took this post of overall coordinator is that when I came to IIT Bombay, I came through spot admission. So during that time, my bachelor's is from mechanical department. So now currently I am pursuing my master's in metallurgy. So it is an interdisciplinary department for me. So at that time when I came for the spot admission, I got admission in mechanical in many other NITs for my core department. But when I came here, I was in dilemma that should I go to IIT, should I go for that brand, or should I continue in NIT. So I contacted my OC, Sandeepan, who was my overall coordinator, who was my mentor. So it was not his job to guide me entirely. But when I came into the institute, he was busy with the spot admission thing going on. But when I approached him, he took his time, he took half an hour of his time, and he explained me what are the advantages you will be getting because of this program, and he even guided me to some of the professors, and he assisted me like that. So because of him only I am standing here right now. So for me, he acted as a role model, because so that was the first initiation point for me to take this post. So after that I also contributed in a similar way. Then what are the soft skills developed through this, I will highlight. First, managerial skills. So we showed various number of bodies. For example, in hostel affairs there is a general secretary hostel affairs, and for each hostel there will be a general secretary. In hostels there are various posts like maintenance secretary, sports secretary for each hostel. If you take example of maintenance secretary post in hostel, students, whatever, suppose your purifier is not working or geyser is not working, the students used to give this complaint to the students only, who is the maintenance secretary of the particular hostel. So what he has to do is that he has to go and approach the warden, he has to go to the workers, and he has to solve the issue. Suppose if the equipment is totally malfunctioning, means he has to go and see the quotation for that geyser or for that light which is not working in the playground. He has to come up with the quotation. He has to approach the warden. He has to give everything. So warden, if he is satisfied with the price of the quotation, he will proceed further. So it is almost like he is doing a work of a purchase department, people who is working in the company. This, he is getting the experience of the work without being paid. It is also like kind of like an internship kind of a thing which he is doing because of his own interest. One more thing I want to say is that CCs are company coordinators. It comes under the placement team. In placement team, company coordinators, there are some 40 to 50 company coordinators allotted for UGs, PGs, everyone. So what these company coordinators will do is that every company coordinators will be allotted some 15 to 20 companies contact details. So it is entirely the students, they have to see their placements also, and they have to contact in their preparation time, they have to contact each and every company. They have to talk with the manager, they have to talk with the HR person, and they have to get the appointment done, and they have to get the slot fixed for the placements. So these things are entirely done by the students. So through this, their communication skills and the way they are approaching and talking with the HR persons are developed. So second thing is that I mentioned this, that in whatever field we are passionate about, we are, apart from the time we are spending for academics, we are focusing on the interest area extra. So also when we are the head of the certain body, it is not like a hierarchy and all, it is just within our friends we are managing the work and we are sharing the responsibilities. Suppose when we are working, suppose we are one overall coordinator, under him he will be having a team of 200 people. So he has to get his work done, he has to cooperate with the team, and he has to get the work done from his team members. So these are the soft skills people are developing because of the responsibility they are holding. Then communication and public speaking. So when we are in this kind of a position, we have to conduct a general all team meet, we have to conduct with our team members. By that way we can develop our communication skills, and presentations also we have to give frequently. For example, during institute orientation and all, for parents orientation will be separately held and student orientation will be there. At that time, students will be allocated, some students will be sent for responsible for parent orientation, some students will be responsible for student orientation thing. So before the program actually starts, for example, in parent orientation, we have to keep the parents engaged. So for that 1 hour or 1.5 hours, students has to give their presentation. What we generally do is that each and every student of that body, they used to share their stories, or whatever they think or important, they used to present. So at that time, personally for me, before coming to IIT, I was not involved, or I have never gone to any stage. But during that orientation time, in front of 400 parents, and during student orientation in front of 1500 students, I was able to speak. So I don't know how far I have improved, but I am satisfied with my improvement. So similarly is the case with each and every students who have taken this responsibility. Then planning and execution. So this planning and execution plays a very important role, because institute orientation generally it comes in July, but the plan for that, we used to plan before the 1 or 2 months. For example, currently our tenure ends in March 31st. So we have to plan that who we have to appoint as the next overall coordinator. For that process has to start, and we have to tell them how we went through this orientation process. Then it is up to those students who has to take this orientation program further. For example, if 1 month period they have to plan which all the departments has to be seated in the convocation hall, in which wise, then which all the bodies has to be given these kind of responsibilities. So planning and execution plays a very important role.
I would like to add here, so every institute body, that every student body is made at the start of the year, and at the start of the year itself they plan all of the activities throughout the year to the week and to the date. So it's, yeah, start of the academic year they plan the activities for the entire year to the date. So that amount of planning is required.
So this one more thing is that before someone we are handing over the responsibilities, they are doing groundwork with the current POR holders. So by this way they are coming to know what all the roles and responsibilities of each POR, or what all the responsibility they are going to hold. Selection process is that we used to keep, there are 2 ways of selection process are there, some through interview, and for G6 it is through election process. but for both the things, people used to do groundwork and do. For example, for mentorship program, what we used to do is that we will allot the students to do groundwork from one overall coordinator, departmental coordinator, student companion. Every post they have to go and do groundwork, and they must have a sufficient knowledge in the area which they are going to take the responsibility. So after that, the selection process is like, first we will shortlist through their SOPs, why they want to join this. Then after that, there will be interview within the overall coordinators. Then after that, they will be the interview will be taken by the deans and the directors and the faculty coordinator for each body. So this is how the selection process goes. No one is getting selected just like that. They are going through so much rigorous process, from groundwork through so many interviews. Then only they are appointed as a responsibility holder. Then by this, our convincing ideas also may improve. For this, here I would like to highlight our point. Generally in the institute orientation, every time the institute orientation used to take place separately. For MSc, for PG I am telling, for MSc it used to take place separately, and for MTech it used to take place separately. But this time what our GSEC did is that for MSc generally students intake is less compared to the masters MTech students. So he thought to mingle both MSc and MTech and conduct as the same orientation. So unnecessarily the speakers also will be repeating the same thing again and again, and there was a more vacant space also. So this idea he proposed to the dean and the directors, and this time it worked. We conducted both MSc and MTech orientation together simultaneously. Then time management, it plays a very important role, because everyone who is holding this POR will be having their academic work also. We have to concentrate on our project work, our course work. So during the daytime entirely we used to used to attend classes, we used to do our project work, and in the evening time, since we are taking this POR with our interest, suppose if I am interested in sports, I used to take POR related to that. So it is not like a extra work for me. I have taken this mentorship role because I like it, so I have taken. So it is not like a extra work, or I will not do this without any interest. I will be interested to do this work. So everyone is taking this POR like that. So in that extra time, apart from in our extra time, we are dedicating our 1 or 2 hours daily for this. During, for example, everybody during their, for example, in mentorship program, during orientation, we have to focus a lot of our time. Then once this process is over, our team members, they have to spend most time. Mentors, we have to just verify that they are constantly meeting with their students or not, mentor-mentee relation, they are getting feedback or not. That will be the process. Then
basically this is a lot of work, like every position responsibility, like especially 3rd and 4th year responsibilities, it is a lot of work, and the bottom line is that your academics cannot be compromised. So you have to manage your time better so that you can balance the two.
so one more important thing is that PGs, they will be having their placement season also. So they have to take care of their placements, and they have to work in this also. So commitment and discipline, that is the main thing. Just because we want a responsibility, no one will take. If we are taking for that, we will not be able to do justice to the job position we have taken. So we have to be committed. If we are capable enough to manage our academics and other responsibilities, we can take this.
See, Shiv Subramaniam has very beautifully brought out some very important qualities that you want to develop at all levels, at the undergraduate and graduate levels, and he's listed them. Now, why is this important? Not simply because you want the overall growth of the student. This is important because very often these qualities also start enhancing their ability to learn. For example, all of them said that, when I came into the system, I wouldn't have been able to stand before 40 faculty and make a presentation like this. So this process of taking a responsibility or taking on participation in something that one is passionate about actually helps trigger something from within, which helps on all fronts, including academics. And in fact, one of the things that we have to discuss, particularly as faculty, one of the things that you should be discussing in our breakaway session, even today and next time also, is what should we do to encourage such kind of responsibilities within a student team, which will multiply faculty efforts again. For example, they talked about placement. Now placement, typically I found, again, when I visited TechWhip institutions, the placement officer needs to do it. One placement officer can, even in IIT it's not done. See, one placement officer or one placement professor in charge cannot manage to do all that is required for successful placement. It has to be a shared effort. the faculty have to contribute, and in fact the students also participate actively. So how can this happen? You have to think, it will take some time, but this kind of culture needs to be brought into many institutions, right? So think about it, we'll discuss it in more detail.
Exactly as Professor Gadre stated, like whenever I am playing or whenever, like this is something that everyone who is involved in sports and even in cultures, they say, like after as they play regularly, they're able to focus better when they're studying, and the thing which took them, which would have otherwise taken 4 hours, now they just need to spend 2 hours and they can learn it better. So yes, extracurriculars, it really enhances your learning power as well.
So in that commitment and discipline part, example I used to give is that in that departmental coordinator, generally we used to take interviews for departmental coordinator, and we used to appoint departmental coordinators for every departments across 22 departments. So for example, when we interviewed, we sent the nomination form for, especially for computer science department, there are 120 people are there. So when we during our tenure we got only 2 applications. So for if a department strength is 60, we used to appoint 1 DCs. If the department strength is more than 100, we used to appoint 2 departmental coordinator. So this time when we came with only 2 applications, to only 2 people we appointed as DCs, and they did an extremely good job. Generally departmental coordinator's job is to appoint SCs, mentors to the mentees who are freshers who are coming. So this time what they did is that we didn't say this to them. Through their own interest, what they prepared a flow chart for the freshers, to their computer science department specifically. What they did is that they floated a Google sheet, and they wrote, they got the feedbacks from each and every students, what are the courses they have taken. So for these courses, what are the prerequisites they should have, because computer science department, they don't have any specific specialization. So this thing we didn't tell, or faculty coordinator didn't tell them. So through their own interest, they did this flowchart system, and because of this, the students, they went to their faculty and they went to the faculty coordinator, and they came to us and they told that this was very useful to us. So these are some of the new things which they did by themselves. So because of that, this time we have not even floated the nominations, but we are getting so many responses from the computer science department that we want to sit for this post when the nominations will come.
Everything that we just said, this cannot be implemented, like this cannot be implemented overnight or even within 1 year. This has to be a very slow process. It took 50-60 years for this structure to develop into IIT. So like how do we help you develop these structures in your institutes?
Are working for in IITB, it is working. So how do you think that it can be implemented in your institute, or how do you think that you can tell why it will not work in your place, or why it will work?
Very good. So I think we should definitely appreciate these young students with a big hand. It's very, it's very creditable that at their age you can see. So you can see as with them as examples that you can groom students to do wonders in terms of multiplying faculty efforts.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Tejasvi, third year PhD chemical engineering student, and yeah, PhD is a journey. The thing is, basically, you have been to Marine Drive. Maybe it's just a day you have been here. I don't think, but you will be going to Marine Drive. No one. So then you'll definitely visit Marine Drive, at least once. So what happens is, when you sit on the coastline, you just get to see the water. You don't see any end where that is ending, or for example, any horizon you see. So PhD is similar to that. You just see the way you have to go this way. You don't see the end destination where you have to go. So that is where it becomes a boring or a monotonous journey. You find everything apart from PhD interesting. Cleaning your room, cleaning your lab, teaching a young kid, ABCD, even if it's your own kid. Everything seems interesting compared to a PhD when you go into the later stages of PhD like us, maybe second, third year. So that is where it comes, the importance of companionship. Like unlike UGs, I wouldn't say it as a mentorship program. But because PhDs are generally above 23, if you do it everything perfectly on time, masters everything, or bachelors also maybe 22, 23 you are there. And at that age, I don't think you need anyone to mentor you or guide you, and you wouldn't even accept it. You don't even accept your parents scolding you or something at that age. So being a mentor, someone forces something on you. I don't mean the mentor's force, but someone acting as a mentor to you is not acceptable. So I would say it as a companionship program, what we have for PhD students. So basically going into our structure, how does our companionship program work is we have the dean of the academic programs, and then we have a faculty coordinator who would be interacting to you in this weekend, Professor Nityanand Prabhu. And we have two overall coordinators, which is me and Abhishek for this academic year. And we have departmental representatives from each department. Why is it required is because we being the overall coordinators, we call it as OCs. Okay, I would refer to us as OCs. It becomes difficult. I'm from chemical engineering, he's from mechanical. So at most what we can do is we interact with chemical students, mechanical students. But it becomes difficult when you have to go to metallurgy, physics, chemistry. There are n number of departments. Even in your institute, you would be having around 6 to 7 departments. Minimum, that is the minimum which a college has. So that's why we need to have departmental companions from each department, so that at least regularly they be in touch with the PhD research scholars. Not exactly scholars, but yeah, research students, I would say. Departmental companions, they keep on interacting with the students, and any problem which gets noticed by these people, they come to us. Because we have direct coordination with the faculty and the dean, mostly with the faculty. So now it becomes, as I said earlier, like you are in UG, you need a mentorship program, because this is the first time you would be mostly leaving home and coming, you'll be staying in a different place. For masters, yes, you would be needing a mentorship program because it's a transition phase from your UGs to a research oriented program. But why for PhDs? Why is it needed? Because you've already done 1 year of research work in masters, 5 years of coursework in UG plus masters 1 year. So why is it specifically needed for PhDs? First thing, PhD is a lone journey. No matter how many people say we'll be there with you, PhD will be helping you out, no one helps you. It is you have to do. Your guide guides you, yeah. You might have collaborative work with the other students of your lab, but no one helps you. It is like you have to sit till 2 AM in your lab, you have to hit your head with everything possible to get that deadlines finished, but it is you have to do. So traveling anything alone becomes a boring, monotonous journey, yeah. Research issues, you may not get the required facilities, whatever you want, whether it is hardware related, some chemicals, some equipments, or software related, some license issues, everything. Professional commitments, yeah, your guide says or someone says like your college demands you that by this time you have to complete a paper. Master students, right? You have to submit a paper. So those commitments always sit on your head, and it's always you're stressed out, like how do I do it? You have these lags and then you have these commitments also, deadlines. Personal constraints, by the time you get to PhD, you are of, the girls would understand it better, the marriageable age. The things come from home that shadi kar lo. Okay, those things, and even for some of the guys also. And guys, it's mostly settle in life. When will you settle in life? When will the PhD get over and settle in life? And obviously, with PhD, the 5 years tenure, no wonder it is kept for 5 years. It is a journey of 5 years, right, minimum. Because your results get delayed. Nothing happens in one go. You have to keep on trying till that thing comes. So all these points make it necessary so that when you go to any college, any institute, as a PhD student, all these things are behind you. It just takes the right time for all these things to fall on you. So you need to always keep these things in mind, and that's why you need someone whom you can share. See, no one is going to solve your problems, but maybe you can share it with someone, you can discuss it with someone, and who knows, maybe they'll give you a possible solution to this. So what at this Research Scholars Companion Program, what we do is, firstly, in PhD, you don't even interact with people other from your lab mates or from max to max other departments. So what we do is create a common platform where all the PhDs can come together, can interact with the other PhDs from the other departments and mutually discuss what their work is. It might interest you, it might help you in some other way, it might help you. Second thing, since we have a faculty coordinator who is above us, and like as Professor Gadre has already mentioned it, it's students who multiply the efforts of the faculty. Like we have this one professor who is heading us, he can interact with the students. There's a faculty-student interaction, and also among the PhD students, mutually among the PhD students, you get to interact, you get to know what they are doing, what they are up to, and some facilities which may be there in their department may not be there in yours. It's a mutual help kind of thing. So that is what is lacking basically in PhD students. Like you don't get to interact with people. So what here we do is to create a common platform where the students can come, interact with each other. What this does is, professionally it helps you. Obviously you'll share ideas, share new technologies, maybe something new. Personally, even if it doesn't help you, you'll feel much better. Because even that person is fighting similar to your battles, right? that is the Indian psychology. Even if you are not getting better, you'll feel okay, the other person is also like us, then it is better. Okay, so that is what it makes you feel better. And there are n number of events conducted in the institute, but only some of them will interest the PhDs, because by the time you come to PhD, you're always in a thing like, okay, this we have already learned, this we know, maybe this we need not attend, you have time issues. But what we basically do is we conduct some workshops related to PhDs, which specifically you would be using in your PhD tenure and might be helpful in your PhD. First is the stress management workshop. Ample stress you have in your PhD, so the stress management workshop, and some workshops which are related to like maybe how do you write a paper, how do you prepare, how do you search for papers. First thing is search for papers, how do you compile them, and then how do you write a paper. What we also do is interact with the alumni. We have frequent alumni meets in our institute where the earlier alumni will come, they'll share your ideas. At least you can know after PhD, what after PhD is the first basic question you have. What after PhD? You have done for 5-6 years, and what after that? So alumni will come to come specific to your areas, will tell you what can you do after PhD and what have they been doing.
So myself Dharamveer Yadav, and I recently joined Udaipur College. So the issue is I started teaching from last 20 days, and in this TechU program around 70% faculties are graduated or PhD from IITs.
Okay.
So they all know structure of IIT and how it works. But the issue is like we are comparing from past 5 days, like everything in the IIT and the campus. Main issue is the college start from 10 in the morning and it ends at 5. And schedule is so much tight. They do not have extra slots for other activities. So if we think about like incorporate all these things like other activities, so there is no slot. This is one of the issues that we are discussing. So how we will incorporate these extracurricular activities? This is a big thing. So and also in the campus, hostels availability is very less. Only 20% or maybe less than that are accommodated in the hostels. So if students are not living in the hostels and they are living in city or maybe at their home, so it's very difficult to ask them to come and participate in extra hours. This is the big issue. So other than that, we are thinking about how we can incorporate at least like in these things, like maybe more. If it is possible to incorporate 10%, it's a big thing.
That's right. So in fact,
So-
you may want to think how at least that 10% of what you have learned,
Yeah.
you've discussed here, can be chosen. And in fact, you can also think, see, maybe there is a certain culture right now,
Yeah,
but all of you are the young drivers of a new culture, isn't it?
yeah.
So what should you be doing to drive a new culture in your institution?
Yeah.
That is what the thing.
Yeah, I told like from past 5-10 days we just are comparing like how it work in IIT and how it's going here, and we are just comparing like hostels. There is no facilities, no net, and like access of these journals, and we are just like okay, dead zones, something like that. So we will find, and at this moment we are like making some points, and it's going to be like really 2 or 3 points we can incorporate
doesn't
at this
matter,
moment.
it's okay.
Yeah.
So I'm Kingshuk. I'm from Nalanda. So I've joined as an assistant professor in Nalanda College of Engineering. So I finished my PhDs. I submitted my thesis, and I finished my PhD from ISC Bangalore. And a subject is physics. So I worked on theoretical physics, and specifically on condensed matter physics. So I'm be happy to ask any question. I mean, take any question or any comments from you, any regarding I mean the PhD program or PhD. I mean life. And she mentioned something about PhD life or something. So I'll be happy to discuss. If anybody wants to, I mean, ask, you are free to ask me. Yes, we have discussed something. And I have been in the college for last 10 days. I have just gone there. So a couple of things I have noticed. It should be there. It should those things I have written down. The first thing comes to me that the placement cell. So placement cell should be there. Should be there in Nalanda and should be in Udaipur, right? So there, I think the way it should operate, there will be one representative from the faculty and one from the student. So that should,
One, much more.
yeah, I think at least one. I'm saying at least one and much more. if possible, to form a placement cell. Other things I noticed in our college, there are sports and cultural activities needs to be enhanced. The inter-hostel competitions, if possible, inter-college competitions. This will, I mean, in some way, I mean, enhance the activities in the college. It will have a good environment. I had a privilege to do my masters here. I did my masters from IIT Bombay, so I know there is what actually happens if anybody participates in this college. I actually played. I actually participated in a lot of sports activities here and other colleges. It helps the individuality or some self-confidence. So it actually helps if anybody is always encouraged, I mean, deeply involved in studies. It gives some sort of break and come back to study. So sports and cultural activities are essential things in my opinion. So this I'm going to emphasize that it should be there. Another is I noticed that in our college that library access is not functional. It should operate, and the books should be. I mean, we can list out. I mean, what are the books we require, or the improvement of library we can discuss among ourselves. Other thing should be that this program like Mood Indigo, Tech Fest, whether I'm going too far ahead, whether that's a very long goal, whether that can be there or that should be in the long-term goal. But the initiative should be there. But there is one more point. In your college, the PhD activity is there. So whether the 5 p.m. time, okay, after 5 p.m. I came to know that at 5 p.m. the college activity is closed, whether it can be extended. So it helps in the PhD thing, because PhD, if you just, one cannot just finish, it's not a 9 to 5 duty. So you have to work, and sometimes it happens that at midnight you find some new idea or some get motivation and go to there, and we have done in that way in IISc. So that should be a little relaxed, or some sort of flexibility should be there, and there should be some checks and balances. It's not just free access, should be some checks and balances. And there should be interaction between PhD and MTech students, where the PhD facilities are there in the colleges in Udaipur. And other point they have noted is attendance criteria. Attendance criteria should be strict. Okay, it should be there in every colleges.
First of all, I introduce my team: Abhinav, Ishan, Sahir, Digambar, Sanjay, Amuda, and Brijesh. And I'm Nikita. Okay. We have discussed here what are the differences between our institute and the Nalanda Institute. So apart from the thing that yeah, we have the PG program and the PhD program, and they are having only the UG programs. Few things I'll say that yes, the one thing which in common we can say that yes, to the research program, we have a elaborated library facility. So in case if we cannot have the facility immediately in our own colleges, we can get access from the other institutes, the digital access we can get, because internet is available everywhere right now. So that can help a lot to the students also. The other thing which I'll say that yes, I have seen in my own institute from IIT Gandhinagar that research is not only for the MTech and the PhD student, even at the graduate level also. People do the research, students do the research. So we can promote the students to do the research in the free time or in the summers when we have the vacations. So that can be done. So in that case, even both the institute can actually motivate their students to do that. The other thing which we can say that how to motivate the students to take part in the cultural activities and all. At Udaipur, we have a system for that. The first year student need to get in the NSS, NCC and all. They all have to credit the course for that. In Nalanda student, it is not there. So along with that, when we have a small strength of students compared to the IITs and all. So in that case, we can we can ask the voluntary participation. We can identify the students which have the capability for the leadership and the role. We can work as a role model for other students, which will motivate others. So that will help to other students to get motivated and work in the field. Along with that, in the day-to-day basis, we can motivate the students that they should come up that with the ideas, what other things they want to do, we can help them to get that. So it's a very long process to be done, but at the initial stage, I think these few steps can help a lot. Thank you.
I am Amit Bansode. I have done PhD in English from English and Foreign Languages University, Hyderabad. And based on the practicality grounds, we have 3-4 points, not more than that. We'd like to first focus on academics, and that is placement and training. So as this group also said the same thing, we want to have a team of teachers as well as students who will with cooperation work for placement and training. And we would like to introduce soft skills also, because soft skills, this course is not there. We have only technical communicative English only to the first year students, but I think for final year students also they require soft skills, because when they go for placement they have rounds like group discussion or debate. So I think such skills are required. That's why our focus will be on soft skills. And we'd like to have technical events and competitions among first year and second year students, because first year students will be more enthusiastic and we can make use of their energy. And in sports, we'd like to have cricket and volleyball, because that is what available in our colleges. Yes, and motivating students is very much important. In the beginning itself, we would like to motivate them and identify those students who are interested in doing this kind of activities and take responsibilities. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Myself Rajiv Verma from CTAE Udaipur, and I'm from mining engineering background. I would like to introduce my team: Nitika, Deep, Sampath, Roshan, Keshav, Rajiv, and Ashish, and Kuldeep. Yeah.
Very good. That's fantastic.
So yeah, our institute CTAE don't have any council or any planned type of activities, but their organization is already well. But I don't think so Nalanda have got a good administration and organization. So firstly, student council type of things are very much required, which should be governed by some faculties. So as there was a shortage of faculties everywhere in those institutes, and now TechUp have equipped them with many faculties. So in each department there should be some faculty, this TechUp head, and they should organize a committee like a council or student council, which should organize these activities like firstly interaction for giving the orientation, that which activities are organized in different colleges but not in our colleges. Like in IIT Bombay we have Moodai, TechFest, and likewise many short small level events are also there. Yeah, so those events are very much required. So firstly, students need to know what is going on in other colleges, so we should send them to different colleges for this exposure. That is much required. So we have written these points, like firstly student council should be made. As Prachi have told me that what's the structure of a student council, this first convener, no, general secretary is there, who is a student of final year or 5th year student. Then a coordinator is there.
Whatever, you can decide.
Likewise, and likewise students should participate themselves in each year, and that's how we make a student council. Then various sports, cultural and administrative activities. In our institute placements are already very well. My mining have got almost 100% placements, and other branches are also having a good placements, but in Nalanda maybe good placement cell is required. So placement is already discussed, but we need input from students only. So for getting students to work, we should
to be faculty involvement.
yeah, firstly they need a guidance. Awareness is not there, exposure is not there. So for creating awareness and exposure, you should create a students team and you should motivate them. So that's we discussed, and various other fests should be there. Like in Nalanda, I don't think so there is any fest. So fest give motivation as well as yeah, plus they get themselves apart from academics, they get to do something. So yeah.
Very good. So I think we've had a very lively discussion. I know that you must have had a long day today, and you must be all, and of course, you know how IIT works. So now today you've got a taste of, how we, it's a small small inauguration and a big program, right?